We are joined today by Susan Davis, owner and founder of S.H. Davis Empowerment Group. Thank you, Susan, for being here today.
Thank you.
Absolutely. We're so happy to have you here today.
Thank you.
And we are excited because, one, you're going to bring a lot of experience and wisdom and knowledge. I know you and I know your background, so you've got a lot to add to the people today, and we really appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
You've built a great business yourself, and what we'd like to do is maybe just kind of share with us a little bit more about how you got the idea, what gave you that idea to start your own business and what you did to get there.
Yeah, thank you, Kelly. So I've been in the corporate world for 25 years, and in that corporate world, I've been in sales leadership, training and development, org development, just kind of the gamut of that. And every time I would do something for the organization, it would solve a pain point, I would see more and more. I'd have another piece of the organization say, oh, we need that, we need that. And I realized there's this huge gap in leadership development, communication, in the corporate world. And so I thought, I'm going to develop my own organization. I'm going to do this. The problem is saying and doing is two different things when you're working a hard corporate job. But what I realized is that my fear in doing that was really the success, not the failure. And now I'm going to be successful. Oh, I'm going to do this on my own. I'm not going to have that 401k. But it also gave me that life of feeling more significant and being able to go out and help a client, especially when I would do something on my own. And I'm like, it's time. It's time. And so I broke off from the corporate world after 25 years and just love every minute of it.
Now you're there, right?
Yeah.
Starting the business and you're starting to grow. Talk a little bit about how you began to build your brand. What's your brand? What's your why? Why did you really do this?
Yeah, I think the brand at first I thought had to be a logo. It had to be a saying. Had your brand is you. It is what you do and how you deliver value to your clients. And I think I overserve. Sometimes that's to the good, sometimes it's to the bad. But when I would see a pain point, I watch, I listen and I see a pain point and I solve for it. And you start building a brand. I always would tell salespeople when I train them, I don't want you to be the salesperson. I want you to be the consultant. I want you to be the trusted advisor. I want you to be the person that the company calls, the client calls and says, you may not even know the answer to this, but I trust you. And I think that's how I started really thinking about that relationship piece and building that trust. And it started building my brand with my clients.
And how do you take that brand and project it out there? How do you get the word out? How do you build your brand to the audience that you're looking to attract?
Yeah, that's been actually for me. I've tried to do it myself. I really think helping someone have someone helping you do this is important, but it is word of mouth. People will talk about what you do for them. And I don't do it because of that. But I love to do things for people and then they will go say, I need you to meet somebody and I need you to meet somebody. And I try to go into every discovery call with not trying to sell something, but trying to solve a problem for someone. And then saying, oh, well, I might even know somebody that could help you with that. So it's not just about me. It becomes about we are the partners instead of me just doing something for the client. I'm not interested in a one and done. I'm about the relationship, and I'm also about a continual program of reinforcement, not just one and done.
You have a broad audience, but maybe there's a niche within that broadness. I know you work with the military, you work with schools, you work with the police, law enforcement, and things like that. So that seems kind of broad.
It's very broad.
Right. But then how do you narrow that down? What's the niche or what do they all need? What does your brand bring to each of them as individuals?
This is a question I get asked a lot because I do have a broad client base. I work corporate groups. I work with schools. I work with the military. I work with police officers. I work with nonprofits. So I work with a little bit of everybody. I work with individuals. There's no new problems in leadership. There's no new problems in sales. But what I have to do is get very focused on tailoring what I'm doing to fit that market or that niche. When I first started, I thought, oh, it's going to be all women, or, oh, it's only be the corporate sector, or it's only and when I realized there's just no new problems. It doesn't matter what industry you're in. There's a problem with retention. There's a problem, with recruitment. There's a problem with engagement. There's a problem with true leadership skills, high problem with emotional intelligence, communication. So the list goes on and on. Competencies, that's another area that I've really built a good brand in competency development. So there's no new problems based on the industry. They're all the same.
And if we go back to the past, we're always looking at the demographics, the age range. What's the age range for this? What's the income level? And all these really specific, recordable demographics. But really, when you use the psychographics, right, then you're connecting with people at a different level of what their needs are.
Yes, yes. You know, it's funny. I use DISC and I use PDP and we use Right Path. We use all these different personality, PQ, personality quotient things. And we think about the generational differences as well. I do a lot of generational diversity training as well. They're all different, right? My content, my presentation has to fit that client. I remember one time in the corporate world going in to do a presentation on a 5-year strat plan of what we're going to do for 5 years. And I go in with myself and I'm all excited. And my audience are very just process-oriented people. And I immediately thought, you got to change your style here, and immediately change your style. And then you go into it and then they say, oh, connect with that. Got it. You can solve a pain point for us. That's what we need. And a lot of it, they don't want to hear the fluff. They want to know what you're going to do to solve problems for them. And then are they going to see it? I'm not sure if I answered the question correctly, but I feel like it's so different. I do a pre-call plan with every client. I need to understand exactly who they are, what their pain points are, who their audience is, who's working for them, what they need, and how they need it. So everything is different. I have a lot of friends that don't do that. I just think it's important that you've got to know who your client is.
And doing that discovery, and it's the place to start, right? If you don't know them, then what you're trying to do is you're trying to take some cookie cutter thing and fit everybody into that.
Well, what I've understood and what I've discovered as well is that people think they know what they need. They oftentimes don't. And it's part of even in my sales training curriculum that it's called uncovering the needs, right? You have to ask a lot of questions to get to the true need. And I remember even myself thinking I knew exactly what I need when I need to buy something. The more questions somebody asks me, the more I realize it's something else. And so, I feel like a good discovery call, a good salesperson, a good leader ask a lot of questions. And so that's one of the things we do to really uncover what's really going on to make sure we're fitting a program. And listen, I know I've been in calls before where we thought we knew what they needed. And after a couple questions, I'm like, we've got to pivot here. And even at the 11th hour, because I want to make sure we're delivering the right thing, not just something to deliver.
And do you find that when you're asking the questions, maybe the first ones come out as a canned response, here's what they think they need, but then, and really coaching is asking questions, right? You're tapping into the subconscious mind where the real truth lies. And we might kind of tend to cover that up. So do you find that really to dig deeper? And then how do you come up over the years? Have you come up with the right questions? Do you fill it out? Maybe share some of that wisdom.
First question, I was like, well, tell me why you're seeking this. We need leadership training.
Yeah.
Or we need sales training, or we need communication training. That's the first answer. Well, tell me a little bit more about that. And they have to think about it for a minute. Well, our teams aren't connecting. Okay. Well, tell me what's happening now. And then before you know it has nothing to do with communication. Maybe it's employee engagement. Maybe it's something else. So asking those kind of questions. And then with coaching, I get this question a lot. I'm like, do you want coaching? Do you want consulting, or do you want training? Because a lot of people say they want coaching, but they really want you to train a little bit, then coach a little bit, then consult a little bit, and which we can do. We do that. But we just have to know exactly what the client wants and needs and what pain point we're going to solve for them.
And maybe share the differences of those, because a lot of people might think that's the same thing, right? A consultant is a coach. What's the difference between those things? Consulting, coaching, training, I think.
Yeah. So when I'm coaching, I'm asking questions. And I'm not really giving my thoughts, my ideas. I'm really trying to get them to uncover the answers themselves. And that's really a great thing about coaching is most people have it within themselves anyway. A good coach can pull it out of themselves. Then they own it. They're more invested. Consulting is, hey, let's work together to create a plan based on your needs. Training is, hey, or facilitation is, hey, I've got this topic and I'm going to come in and I'm going to educate your people and then we're going to take it from there. Maybe we then go back and coach or consult based on the training or facilitation we did.
I heard you mention DISC, And when you were just talking about human behavior and things like that. So maybe share a little bit about the power of that and what that's done for your business and the people that you teaching, training, and facilitating that to.
And I get so passionate about this. It's one of my favorite things. But 25 years ago, I took this DISC assessment. I worked for this very, very large pharmaceutical company. And for 2 weeks, we would wear a name around our neck. We would have to go 10 to 12 times a day in the training for 2 weeks, and they would flip over the disc style on their name tag, and on the spot, you would have to sell to them based on their disc style. Now, that was 25 years ago. It was the best communication training I think I've ever done, because what we're learning to do is we got to teach people is you have to adjust to the person you're speaking to, not they have to adjust to you if you want to connect. It's like a foreign language. If you're in a room with 4 foreign languages and you know how to speak one, you miss 3/4 of the conversation. So I started on that journey, and I am now a master trainer through Personality Insights, and I love doing that. So I train trainers how to do DISC. So I love that. I do a lot of workshops. The curriculum that Dr. Rome has built is great. I've built some of my own too, like feedback using DISC or conflict resolution with using DISC. Some of those things. I think if communication is the number one key. If you can't communicate, you can't connect. If you can't connect, you cannot convert. Convert means relationships, sales, business, anything. You've got to be able to connect to convert.
And there's power in that, and like because I just heard business, relationships,
Doesn't matter.
right? All of the above.
Everything.
Yeah.
Everything, right? You have to be able to connect with people. If you can't, you won't go anywhere. You won't. And so I think the power of communication is so important, and different forms of that communication. And then understanding the people that you're working with and how to connect with them and where their strengths are and where you can lead up or fill in for them as well. So
I know you've got a lot of results. You've been doing this a long time, and even back in the corporate world and things like that, now that you've had your own business and you've built your own brand, and I'm sure there's been lots of ups and downs and challenges and wins and all of that. Share maybe a great success story. Do you have a particular client, whether it's a person or share that with us.
I can think of one or two. Like one, I worked with a European sales team, and we implemented some leadership training over the course of a year, and we grew sales 20%. And not only within that, we took some individuals that had some pretty big transformations personally. And, for me, that's the most humbling thing, because all of a sudden you're that, oh my gosh, what did I say or do? It's a huge responsibility to mentor and lead people. Or I have another person that I've mentored for 2 years, and he comes to you and says, you've changed my life. That's a huge responsibility. Or with another team that has just, they've been so great to work with. We've put this in. They've now put communication styles. They've put in working genius. They've put in languages of leadership into what they do every day. Their engagement level has gone up. Their retention levels have gone up. And so, building that culture within a company, there's been some things. And one of the things I love doing the most is actually I wrote competencies. So I wrote, sales training competencies. I wrote competencies for job, and then leadership competencies. And then how do we look at people and we say, where do you think you are? Where does leadership think you are? Have a coaching conversation, and then develop a leadership development plan to every quarter, just in 1 or 2 areas. How are we going to raise your competency level so that we raise your engagement and we raise your results? The competency building is huge, because I go into organizations all the time and they're saying, we're going to get rid of this person or this person or this person because they're not performing. And I said, have you told them what good looks like? No. And so I said, well, let's write it down. Let's look what competent looks like. Let's look what exceeds competencies look like. And let's look like needs development looks like. And then let's build it and let's do it. And that's where we start seeing results, when people start moving. So it's fun. It's so fun.
I see the excitement in it, right?
Fun. Yeah, it's fun.
And the thing is what you're teaching a skill, right? You're teaching a skill. What I really see happening, though, is building a culture. You're teaching a skill to the folks on and the leaders on how to communicate more effectively with their team, and really how to bring them and help build them up. Once they're trying to build them up and take them somewhere where they know what what good looks like, what does great look like, then all of a sudden they feel included, right? The employee. So you're really having some teaching inclusive leadership by teaching these skills, and it's really making building a culture of I belong, or I'm a part of this company. I'm not just an employee here.
And there's so many important people that say culture trumps everything. I completely, the more I work in this industry, the more I see it. But culture doesn't happen overnight. And I get people all the time that says, hey, have a culture problem. Can you come in? And I'm like, we're not a microwave. We don't do this for 2 minutes and bing, you have a culture, right?
Great announcement.
Starts at the top. Culture is what we see. Culture is what we feel. Culture is what happens when the boss is not there. And so, building that culture, setting the expectations, setting what good looks like, and setting this is how we do things here. So it's. I know that's a big thing right now, building the culture, but building the expectation of what you want your culture to be, because your culture is already there. The question becomes, is it by design or is it by default?
Ooh, that's powerful. I like that. And that would be a question, maybe one of your first questions, right? Are we building a culture here by design or by default?
If you're not designing it, someone else is, and they may not have as much in store for you that you want. So,
tell me a little bit, Susan, about how you stay on the top of your game.
Yeah. So John Maxwell will tell you can't give what you don't have. And I tell my clients this all the time. If you are not raising your level, you can't raise the level of other people. And so it's all about personal growth. So of my 5 values, my number 2 value is growth. So that means pouring into self. I have a coach. I have several coaches. I think it's important. But not only that, surrounding yourself with a circle that pushes you, surrounding yourself with a circle that makes you better, and also being afraid a little bit. When the minute I start getting a little bit comfortable, I know I'm not pushing myself enough. So I'm like, okay, I need to go grow in this area. I need to go grow in this area, because I can't expand for my clients if I'm not expanding myself. So it's all about personal growth. And that's one of the things I work with my clients too. It's one of the first things we talk about. Where's your personal growth plan? Because we architect our vacations more than we do our own plans for personal growth. But yet we know how important personal growth is. And if we don't grow, we can't grow others.
Right. I think if you play it safe, you'll be sorry.
Yes, absolutely.
You can't steal second with your foot hanging on first base.
I was telling my sales trainers all the time, you are never going to be next up to bat if you're not swinging and practicing in the batting cage. You got to be.
You got to hit a home run from the bench, can't you?
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about, again, you say you go broad, but I feel like there's a niche here for you. I really think, whether it's leadership, I still think you have a niche. Tell me a little bit about what that might look like for you.
When I think about my why, I think about what I love. There's really, 3 areas that I love. Number 1, I love communication training and empowering teams to communicate better. I love leadership and growing and empowering teams, and I love sales training. And those are really my 3 areas. Sales has been my background for many years, sales leadership, sales training. And I actually used to be a director of global sales training for a pretty large biotech pharma company. And I started bringing the leadership training in there. I think you got to grow people before you can grow the skill of what they do. And so what I've learned is you got to do both. You got to grow people, self-growth, before you can grow their skill. And so I love doing all 3 things of those. And I think those are the 3 areas that I find the most rewarding, and growing teams, growing self, and connecting to convert.
Great. Did you ever have something unexpected, maybe something fun or funny, or maybe not so funny, unexpected happen, but then it came out to be the best lesson?
Yes. This is the hardest part as a facilitator, right? But this is important. I was actually working with a state agency, a mental health agency, and we start off doing we're almost at lunchtime, and I am sensing what we're doing is checking the boxes. It's not growing people. It's just a discerning thing. So I'm listening at the breaks and I'm hearing people talk. So I said, listen, and I knew I had a plane to catch to get to another group. And I thought, I got to be prepared to stay. I can't leave this organization if I do this. But I thought it's only a 6-hour drive, so I'll have to drive if I can't make the plane, right? And so I just said to him, I said, listen, this is what I'm feeling. This is what I'm sensing. we can keep going. I can leave here and we check this box and all of a sudden you guys are going to go back to work on Monday and you're going to do the same thing. Or we can get down and I can consult with you and help you solve these problems. And they kind of looked around and everybody was really quiet. And I said, let's do this. Let's just take a break. Let's everybody vote on it. See what you tell. I'm going to talk to leadership because leadership, I'd gotten their approval of this before. It was like 99 to 1%. We want to tackle this. I literally had a pair of heels on, sat in the middle of the room, threw the heels off, said, let's get to work. And what I learned from this the most is, number one, when you feel something as a facilitator, a coach, a leader, go with it. You're here because you know what you're doing, so go with it. And that organization was so grateful. But number two, you, again, solve the pain points, add value to people. But I have also gone into a room, I mean, literally at the last hour and changed the curriculum on them because I felt like they needed something different. And the leadership was like, you're right, we missed that. And I'm like, if you're good with it, I'm good with it. But you got to be confident. You got to be knowledgeable. Hey, if you're not personally growing, you're not going to be knowledgeable, right? And you got to be able to do that. It can be scary, but you just do it. You just do it. So
what happens is we get that fear sets in and we start second guessing.
yes.
I really find, and the word you used several times today, word trust yourself, trust the process. I've heard that many times. When you trust what you're telling yourself or what you see, that's when the magic really happens. When you go for it, and that's exactly what you did. And thank goodness you pivoted and made miracles for them, I'm sure.
Yeah, and and they taught me stuff.
Yeah.
I feel like every group I'm with teaches me something because I'll say something they'll like, that impacted me. I'm like, that did? And you kind of get this awareness in your reflection of, wow, I need to go further here. I don't need to go further here. I need to develop this more. I think every time it's a learning, every group is a new group, but I learn just as much as they do. It's a gift to me. It's what I'm like, how did I get this lucky to do this? And I just love it. It's just fun. We have a good time with it. And I love working and consulting with other people like you or other facilitators. We can build big things together. That gift of collaboration is so much fun to do as well.
We've talked about that on a lot of these podcasts, the partnership,
Absolutely.
collaboration, just bringing others in. Oftentimes the feeling of competition and that sets in, but really it holds us back, doesn't it?
Absolutely. If you don't have an abundance mindset, you have the scarcity mindset, there's enough business for everybody. I'm a firm believer in shared thinking. I'm a firm believer in collaboration. There is no way that I believe my ideas are the best ideas, and I love collaborating with people that have different skill sets. I learn more. Again, don't be the smartest person in the room. And also, they bring something that I don't. And then you make even better magic. And then that's when opportunity happens, but you got to have that abundance mindset. And it works out every time.
Well, you certainly have that. You've done great work. I love watching you. I have seen you.
Fun.
I know we've known each other for quite a few years, and it's been a lot of fun. Thank you for being on the show today.
Thank you for having me. So
appreciate you,
grateful.
and I'm sure everybody out there appreciates everything you've shared.
Thank you.